Hello, everybody. So, yeah, this was Alan's idea, which I think was a wonderful idea. I didn't plan anything special, yeah, because it's a very special group of people. And I want to hear about your experiences and to be able to reply to what your needs are and what your questions are. Okay? So we'll start with just a little bit of watching our breath to quiet our mind down. We'll generate our motivation. And then I would like to, pretty much open it up to questions or comments, yeah, because I want to learn from you. Okay. Okay. So let's do a little bit of meditation. Your hands, the right on the left. Yeah, thumbs touching. This is in your lap. And lower your eyes. And just breathe normally and naturally. Don't force your breath. Don't deep breathe. Just let your breath be what it is. And then be aware of what happens in your body as you inhale, what the feeling in your body is. And when you exhale, what the feeling in your body is. And while you're watching your breath go in and out, be aware of how it connects you to the rest of the universe and to all the living beings, because we breathe the same air. We all depend on the air to stay alive. If you get distracted, then just bring your attention home to the breath. So we'll do this for a minute or two and let our mind settle down. And then let's spend a moment cultivating our motivation so that we're all on the same page and sharing together this evening for the same reason. So let's cultivate an attitude of compassion for ourselves, for all living beings, wishing everybody to be free from suffering and its causes, and a feeling of love, wishing everybody to have happiness with its causes. And so by having a motivation of love and compassion, may we progress along the path to full awakening, to Buddhahood. Yeah. And may we be of benefit to whoever we encounter in our life. Like I said, I didn't prepare anything. My message is usually the same, whatever group I talk to, yeah, which is basically to cultivate a kind heart. Yeah. Yeah, because I think the title of the talk is How to Make Our Life Meaningful. And the way to do that is by having a kind heart. Yeah. Yeah. Do you like to sing? Yeah? Does he like to sing? Yeah. Yeah.
First time he plays with the people, so maybe he's a bit anxious.
What?
He may be a bit anxious because it's a new place and
Uh,
encountering new people.
Yeah. So so wait a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so basically, to have a kind attitude towards people in our lives, to not be so super sensitive about what people say about us, what people do to us, that, we're just like this, and any little thing makes us angry. And then when we get angry, we hold on to that anger and we don't want to forgive, and we think about it again and again and again and ruminate on it and plot how we're going to get our revenge. And we make our lives totally miserable. And we make other people's lives miserable too. Yeah. So if we can have a really big mind, yeah, that is very accepting, that everybody may have different ways of thinking, everybody has different ways of perceiving things, people have different needs, different things that make them happy. There's some seats up here too. I don't bite if you sit close. Yeah. So, yeah, to have that open mind that just, can accept in many ways, the differences among us, and that can be patient when conflicts arise, so that we don't fly off the handle. Because if we do fly off the handle and start accusing other people and so on, it just makes the whole situation worse. We're unhappy, and then they respond to us with anger too. We complain about them, and then they complain about us. So, to have a much broader mind that can accept differences and not make a big deal out of small things. Because when we look closely, a lot of the things that really set us off, will we even remember in 1 year? Yeah, because almost every day we get a little bit aggravated about something. So if I ask you on November 1st, 2022, what were you mad about? Could you tell me? So how important was it? If you can't remember it later, was it really that important to get aggravated and frustrated and angry about? Okay, so when we see that, then it's easier just to let things go. Okay, so tell me what you're interested in, what you want me to talk about.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
okay.
I'm just wondering, as such parents whose children may not be independent,
Yeah.
even if we study about preparing for death and about letting go, unlike typical parents whose children who have grown up and can be independent, how do we apply this part about letting go? Yeah.
I mean, you're thinking of your death or your
I'm
child's
thinking
death?
if I were one of these parents who has contracted a terminal disease,
Uh-huh.
and I know that I'll be dying. So even though I have tried to study about preparing for death, I think it will still be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And for one of the caregivers who has passed on, actually, her last worry was where to put a child in a suitable home, for which there is none here at the moment for her child. But even with that worry, she just passed away without fulfilling that wish. Yeah.
So did she have provisions set up for her child?
It's not about the provision. Is the reality that there isn't a suitable facility for her child here at the moment. And she tried to look for something, and she realized that there was something suitable. So with that, I don't know how she brought it up, with her at the verge of the death, but it was something that she was struggling about.
Yeah.
But in this case, she's Christian, so her Christian friends try to support her by, their doctrine that, you meet in heaven and that kind of thing. But for us, Buddhists, I think it's very different. And I'm just trying to think that if it were me, how do I practice at that moment, even if I've already tried to study about it. I think it will still be very difficult to not cling on.
Actually, I think, I'm not a parent, so I'm speaking about something I'm not familiar with. But with most parents that I talk to, when they talk about dying, their foremost concern is with their children. Yeah. And that's kind of universal, I think, for all parents. I know when I was a child, my mother used to say, if anything happened to you children, I just, my life would fall apart. So I think that's kind of a universal thing. So, looking for a suitable place is, definitely what you need to do. If there's not one, then maybe, talk to social services. I'm surprised in Singapore that there isn't really that, because usually Singapore is fairly efficient about caring for, different people. So maybe now is a good time to talk to the government and social services and say, we need to establish that kind of home that can take care of children with these special needs. Yeah? And to start doing that now. Yeah? Otherwise, I have no power to make something come into being. Sometimes people have families that will, raise the child and take the child. Sometimes they may have to send the child to a place in another country where they have a suitable facility. Or friends, may help out. I think it's probably it's undoubtedly a difficult situation. But if there's a way to start now before it's a crisis situation for people to really, get social services to move on this and establish a home for these kids. Yeah. I don't know if I replied to your question, okay?
My question is more like, if you have already done what you could and you have to accept the situation as it is at the point, because it's also not like you can do very much then. Then how do we apply that letting go at that point?
Yeah. Well, it's like that. Shantideva, one of the great Buddhist sages, says, if there's a problem or a difficult situation, if you can do something about it, do it. If there's nothing you can do about it, then getting anxious, getting frustrated, getting upset is useless. So, in any situation, this goes, for your situation, anything that happens in life, if we can do something about it, we do. If we can't, then we just realize we've done what we can and we can't do any more. And the only choice is relax, make prayers for the benefit of whoever needs the prayers, and send, you know, when you die, just die peacefully, you know, send your love to the people that you're leaving behind, and, you know, don't worry, because worry is totally useless. It doesn't help anything, you know. And this, I mean, everybody in their life, we meet frustration, don't we? And we meet things that don't happen the way we want. And this is, yeah, in our life. I know in my life, lots of times, you know, I want to plan something or make something happen. The fact is, I cannot control the world, and I cannot control everything around me. And I have to accept that fact. Because what else can you do? Yeah? I mean, we got to be realistic here. What else can you do? So you just wish people well, send them on with love, and, you know, no guilt, no recrimination, because you did your best, but you can't control the rest of the world and what happens. Yeah, I was just saying, every parent is afraid that if they pass away before their child, that who can care for their child as much as they can. This is, you know, yeah, how many of you are parents? Yeah, is this the way you feel? You have that concern? So, and it would be nice if we lived in a world where we could go, we need this, boing! And, yeah. But, you know, human beings are very resilient. And we worry a lot for the people that we love, especially when they're young and they're children. But people are very resilient. You know, they will go through difficulties in their life, and, you know, it may be problematic for a while, and they will come out the other end. And sometimes they come out stronger and with more compassion. You know, if you think of, for example, just you think in Israel of the children who were orphaned by the recent Hamas attack, and the children in Gaza who were orphaned by the recent Israeli attack. Yeah, then it's traumatic at first for the kids, but human beings, you know, find a way, and they do the best they can. Yeah, and this has been historically the case, you know. I know people who were refugees from Tibet when communist China invaded Tibet and took it over. And they had to walk over the Himalaya mountains very quickly, you know, and became refugees and were separated from their families and had no money and so on. And they remade their lives, and, you know, they found happiness and they found purpose. So I think we have to give each other the benefit of the doubt sometimes, and not just let our mind go to worst case scenario, because we so easily do that on anything. Yeah, there's a problem, and instantly, like, we're I'll give you an example. At the monastery where I live, we're building a new Buddha hall, and we don't have enough money to finish the whole thing yet. And so one of the nuns who is in charge of the finances, she worries so much that we won't be able to pay it, and that we'll have to give up the land and all the building and everything where we live right now, and that by next week we'll all be living on the streets. And she worries like that. And I go, huh? Do you really think that's going to happen? Yeah. Do you really think that's going to happen? Why? And she says, yeah, I have the tendency to always think about the worst case thing. But then she makes herself so miserable by doing that because she's so worried about something that hasn't happened yet. Yeah? And we human beings do that. Yeah? We worry about what hasn't happened. We worry about problems we don't have. Yeah, which really wastes a lot of time. You know, much better to really connect with people while we're alive and love them and receive their love while they're alive, instead of spending our time like, oh, the world's gonna fall apart, you know? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So to try and have an optimistic attitude about things. Mhm. Okay. Okay?
Thank you for coming to here to give us a talk. Really appreciate. Yeah. What I could ask is, on behalf of the special needs people, I know the parents are worried about the kids. I myself also have a special needs daughter. So, from the Buddhist point of view, how can, as a parent, make it better for them and for us in our life? Where everybody have a problem in life, how do we face it with the teaching of Buddha? How do we do it every day? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay. So especially how to make your life better for yourself and the people that you love.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think first of all, love them. Yeah. Don't worry about them. Just love them for who they are. Yeah. Don't sit there and pick out faults, but see the beauty in them and connect with them from your heart. You know, that how kind of heart connection is what really brings so much meaning and purpose to our lives. Yeah. And so just do that. Don't think, you know, oh, you know, here we are sitting down for breakfast, and every day we live is just the same. You know, don't just have that attitude that, you know, we're just doing the same thing and on and on and on, because every moment is different. Every moment is different. And so we always say live in the present. Well, the present is now. The present isn't in the past, remembering things and sobbing because they aren't the present anymore. And the present isn't thinking about the future and worrying about, you know, this, that, and the other thing. So just right now, and with the very sometimes daily mundane things we do, we can bring love and kindness to those things and really connect with people. Yeah? So it just means like slowing down a bit and paying attention to our lives and looking people in the eye, you know, instead of having your list. You know, most of us have a list of what we want to accomplish in a day. Don't you have a list? Yeah, sometimes you write it down, sometimes it's on your computer, sometimes it's in your mind, but I want to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And if you don't get through your list, then you feel, oh, I'm so frustrated. Yeah, I need more time. People are demanding too much for me, and we make our life miserable. How about if we just do what we need to do slowly and appreciate it while we do it, instead of rushing to get through it so we can go on to the next thing that we also rush through to get on to the next thing. And in the process, we never really stop and look anybody in the eye and think, oh, there's a living being who wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer. Yeah, there's a living being who is exactly like me. They want to be happy, they don't want to suffer. Yeah? And when we can see that in everybody, then we can find a way to connect with people. Yeah? And there can be many different ways of connecting. Sometimes, because we go through our day and we encounter lots of strangers. Sometimes our attitude towards strangers is just they're in the way. I want to go somewhere and they're in the way and I have to navigate around them to get to the MRT, or I have to, dodge them to cross the street, or, what we just, they're like, we see them as objects. Yeah. And so instead of doing that, to stop and really look around and, oh, there's sentient beings who want to be happy just like me. There's no difference between us. There's sentient beings who don't want to suffer just like me. Yeah? And when you look at people and think like that, you know something very personal about them. You haven't spoken one word, but you know something very personal, very heartfelt about them. And when you know that, then you can smile at them. You can say a few kind words. You can joke, or you can offer a little bit of comfort. Okay? I'll give you one example. I had a friend who, when she, late teenage, young adult years, yeah, that's a very turbulent time in your life. And so she was trying to figure out, who am I? Where do I belong? How do I relate to my family? And she was feeling kind of depressed and was even considering suicide. Yeah. And she told me that one day she was just walking down the street feeling kind of depressed. And somebody coming from the other direction just looked at her and smiled and said hello. And she said, that changed something in my attitude. I knew there was a reason to live. Yeah? Because of that human connection and that exchange of kindness. That person looked at her and said hello, acknowledging, oh, you're a living being there. Yeah. I wish you well. Yeah. And that kind of thing is quite important. So often in families, we take our family members for granted. And especially with children, I don't know here, but at least in my country, sometimes the parents sound like, drill sergeants in an army. The alarm rang, get up. Why are you always oversleeping? Get up, come on. Yeah. Brush your teeth, wash behind your ears. Did you finish your homework? No, not again. You didn't finish your homework. You had all night. Sit down and do it. Okay. So, we just, sometimes parents, that's how they interact with their kids, really, just like you're in the army. Whereas, if you're a parent and you can just stop and talk to your kids, what did you do at school today? Tell me about your friends. Yeah, what did you learn in school? And then, then you really learn about what your kids are interested in, and you have that connection with them. And that's really special. Yeah? And then your kids aren't afraid of you all the time because you're not screaming at them and giving them orders. And also, with your other family members, sometimes, I tell people before you go in the door of your home, you're coming from work, just pause at the door before you open it and think, I'm going to see the people that I care the most about. Yeah, how fortunate I am to have these people in my life. Huh? And then you open the door and you go in and you say hello. Yeah. And how was your day? Instead of walking in and then just plopping on the sofa and going, oh, I'm so exhausted, bring me something to eat and drink, as if your spouse is your slave. Yeah. But really pausing and appreciating the people in your family. And you may not always agree with them. In fact, you will not always agree with them, and they will not always agree with you. But that's okay. That's okay. We can get along without thinking the same. We can get along without agreeing about everything. Yeah. So sometimes very helpful, focus on the small things in your life. Yeah, can you see him back there? I can. Yeah, move your cushions so you can see if you need to. Okay, other comments, questions?
My name is Abbey. Thank you so much for coming today. My question is, so my sister and I are very close. We were both from Indonesia, and then we came to Singapore when we were very young. And I think because we only had each other, and then we cared for each other very, very much since young. And next year, she's actually getting married, and then she might be moving back to Indonesia. So I'm actually kind of sad but happy at the same time because I'll be alone and then when she goes back to Indonesia.
Yeah.
And then I'm just my question is how, because we always live together and we always have each other's back, and at the moment I feel like I feel rather lonely. So how do I deal with how do I find comfort in solitude when our loved ones are not around physically around us all the time? Thank you.
So you see, you're instantly going to, I'm going to be alone. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going to be alone. My sister's back in Indonesia. I miss her. There's nobody to talk to me. I don't know what to do being alone. Yeah, you've already, in your head, created a scene. Yeah, and you're worried about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's lots of people on the planet. And, and you can have new friends. And yeah, you're still close to your sister. You'll see her sometimes, maybe not as often, but you'll have other friends. Yeah, for sure.
I guess to follow up on that,
Yeah.
I feel that as I grow older, I realize that my relationships with my my friends, my family members actually change as well. And sometimes it's kind of sad, like people that we really care about, like our close friends, we just grew apart as we grew older. And yeah, I don't really know how to deal with it.
Yeah, now let's give her the microphone. I couldn't hear that last bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so just to repeat, just to add on to that, I realized that as I grew older, I realized that a lot of my good friends, my family members, we actually become more distant as everyone has their own priorities, different commitments as they grow older, and I'm just wondering like how am I supposed to deal with that because let's say, so last year I went through quite a bit of like burnt out. I feel really emotionally tired. I don't know what I'm doing, all studying and all that. And then I wanted to talk to my good friend, and then my friend is just not there, and I felt like so angry. Why are you not here when I need you the most? And then I was just wondering like how do we accept change?
Okay, so how do we accept change? This is, you know, a big challenge for everybody because we all want security. And to us, security means that we have control over everything, that we know what will happen, we can control it, yeah, so that everything is going to go exactly the way we want it. And we will have everything we want, and we won't encounter anything we don't want. Right? That's what we want. Some security, make everything fixed, predictable, and what we want it to be. And we think that we'll be happy then. Yeah? I don't know if we'll be happy then. If we make everything is so predictable. Will we really be happy? Will we grow in our life? Will we learn? Will we venture out and meet new people and do new things and go to different places? Or will we just kind of be vegetables, always being with the same people, doing the same thing day after day because we're afraid of change? That doesn't sound so interesting, does it?
Guess I'm not that adventurous.
Yeah. It's actually, I mean, I think one of the real beauties in life is meeting new people and having different experiences and, you know, learning different things in different situations. I mean, when I first came to Singapore, it was in 1987, I think, I'm sorry to say this, don't be offended, I didn't even know where Singapore was when my teacher told me to get on a flight and go to Singapore. I was like, where's Singapore? Yeah. And then I didn't know anybody in Singapore. My teacher said, go, and, you know, we're just starting a Dharma center. Go. So I went. I didn't know anybody. Yeah. The people who were starting at the center, somebody came and picked me up at the airport, and they took me to where I was going to live, which was at an old folks' home. Okay? So there was a temple. This was Alpha Ballaster Road, a temple, and in the back they had an old folks' home, and my room was on the top, and I overlooked the columbarium. Okay? Well, you know, this wasn't how I thought it would be, but it's a new experience. Yeah. I didn't know about Singaporean food. It was very different than what I was used to. Yeah. And actually, the first time I ever went to, because I was been vegetarian for a long time, the first time I went to a Buddhist temple, this was in Hong Kong. Yeah, and they served us food, and I looked and I said, "Oh, it all has meat." I thought the Buddhists were vegetarian. And then they said, "Oh, it is vegetarian." I said, "No, look, there's meat in all these dishes." "No, that's just gluten. It's fake chicken, fake shrimp, they're fake pork. There's no meat. Relax." I was so surprised. Yeah. So, going into different situations now, I really like it. Yeah. When I went to take full ordination in Taiwan, okay, so this is a good story. Okay, so again, I didn't know anybody. Yeah. One of my friends in India where I was living knew a nun in Taipei who picked me up at the airport and took me back to her flat. And then I had a lesson in shoes because in Taiwan and somewhat in Singapore too, well, you have to take your shoes off before you go in the house. And then when you go to the bathroom, you have to put different shoes on. And then you take those shoes off when you come out of the bathroom. And when you go into the kitchen, then you have to put another pair of shoes on. And I didn't know any of this. So I was just trying to walk around everywhere in my shoes. Yeah. And she had to stop and tell me what to do. Okay. Then she got me dressed in Chinese robes, which I had never worn before because I always wore these. And Chinese robes, many, many layers. So you're very hot. And you're sweating. Yeah. And you can't take any of the layers off because you've got to look like all the other monastics. Okay. So then she put me on a bus to take me, then the bus took me to Kaohsiung from Taipei. So I got off the bus and somebody else I didn't know picked me up, took me to the monastery. Okay, I don't know anybody, I don't know Chinese. Okay. And the person who brought me there said, "Do you have a Chinese name?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, I'll go ask the master for a Chinese Buddhist name for you." Okay, so she went off. So in the meantime, I'm sitting there. All these people are walking by, and they stop to look because who's ever seen somebody who looks like me in a Chinese monastery? This was many years ago. So, but people are walking by and they look at me and they say, "Amitofo." And I go, "Well, Amitofo." Yeah, Amitofo. Okay. I don't know. What's Amitofo? So then the woman came back, the lady came back and she said, "Oh, did somebody come and tell you what your Buddhist name is?" And I said, "Yeah, I think so. It's Amitofo." Yeah. And she looked at me like, "How dare you say you're Amitofo?" So, going into new environments with new people, you just relax, you enjoy, you meet new people. Now I still can't speak Chinese, except now I know ni hao, you know, but that's kind of it. And mayo. and I know Amitabha. But, you know, wherever you go, if you smile, you meet very kind people. Yeah. And so, yeah, if you have this idea like, oh, I don't know anybody, what are they going to think about me? I don't know. Will I fit in? Oh, maybe I'll do something wrong. I'll put on the wrong shoes to go in the kitchen. I'll put on the wrong shoes to go in the bathroom. Oh no, what are they going to do? They're going to think I'm a barbarian. My goodness, if I have that kind of attitude, you know, I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to make the other people around me really uptight. Yeah. But, you know, you just relax and you learn to laugh at yourself. Yeah. Instead of trying to be perfect, just learn to laugh at yourself. And you make mistakes and you do stupid things and you joke about it. Yeah? So. Uh-huh.
Hello, Venerable. How do we maintain peace within ourselves when everyone around us is in a storm?
Everyone around us is
In a storm, like
in a
hurrying
storm.
everywhere, getting things done. How do we maintain peace?
So how do we maintain peace when we're surrounded by crazy people that are fighting wars? Yeah, fighting wars isn't a war the most stupid thing human beings can ever do. You know, it's so stupid. It destroys everybody. There's nothing good that comes out of violence. Nothing good that comes out of war. And yet, we're so stupid as human beings that we make ourselves miserable and we make each other miserable. Yeah? So you're living in a world like that where everybody's cuckoo. Yeah. And you live in the United States and, you know, I don't know if you know anything about American politics, but right now, cuckoo. Yeah. Yeah, the previous president, you know, who didn't accept the results of the election in which he was defeated and keeps saying, I won, I won. Yeah, crazy, totally nuts. And then other people believe his lies. Okay, so your question is, how do you maintain peace in that world? You have compassion. Yeah, compassion, from what I've found, compassion is the way to have a peaceful mind. Yeah, because compassion is the wish that people be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. And so often, if we feel everybody around us is in a storm, like you said, then we blame them for our inner turbulence. I'm unhappy because you did this. I'm unhappy because this, that. Always external. We blame. Yeah. And we can't control it, can we? We blame and we get angry. And we say, why is the world like this? Yeah. And we can't control anybody else. And we can look at them and say, oh, they're all crazy. They're all so stupid. Yeah, does that make you happy? No. Yeah. So what's your choice? You can either complain, you can blame, you can criticize, or you can have compassion for people and know that what they really want in their heart is to be happy and not to suffer. And they're doing all the crazy things they're doing because they don't know what the real cause of happiness is. So they're just doing something. And lots of times, you know, because they don't know what the cause of happiness is, They do things that harm other people, or they do things even that harm themselves. Yeah, people who take drugs, they want to be happy. Yeah, what do? You know, they're shooting up drugs, and then they overdose and they die. Yeah, but their real wish is to be happy. So isn't that tragic? Yeah, it's tragic. They want to be happy, and they're so confused that they wind up suffering. So instead of blaming them and criticizing them, I don't feel sorry for them, but I try and cultivate compassion. You know, may they learn what really is the cause of happiness. Yeah? May they begin to see life clearly. May they develop a kind heart. May they care about other people in other countries and not want to hurt them. Because from a Buddhist view, when you harm somebody else, you're also harming yourself. Yeah. Worldly people think, oh, if I harm somebody else, then I'm protecting myself and I'll get what I want. No, when you harm somebody else, what happens to you? Well, first of all, you feel rotten inside. You may feel powerful at the beginning. Oh, I got rid of my enemy. But when you're at home alone and you think, I harmed somebody else, you don't feel good about yourself. Then karmically, you created really negative karma harming somebody else. So you're really creating the cause for your own suffering in the future life. Yeah? So it's really true, when we harm others, we are harming ourselves. When we're kind to others, even they don't respond to our kindness the way we would like them to, still, yeah, we're creating happiness for them and happiness for ourselves. The Dalai Lama says, you know, that he feels when he has compassion for somebody else, that he's the real person who benefits. And when he is able to be generous to somebody else, he feels that he benefits from giving them something. Yeah? Why? Because he's not, he gives something to somebody else, he's not expecting thank yous. He's not expecting a gift in return. For him, the delight, the joy, is just being able to connect to somebody by giving them a gift and watching them smile. And that is reward enough. Yeah, they don't have to praise him and this kind of stuff. So if you live your life like that, then small things, you know, you don't get so angry at other people. You find small ways of doing things, and you realize that you can't control everything, because so much of our frustration comes because we can't control everything, and we want to control everything. Yeah, we want to control our parents. We want to control our children. We want to control, you know, the government. We want to control our doctors and nurses. We want to control our neighbors. You even want to control your dog. Yeah? Yeah? But the only person we can ever control is this one, is ourselves. When we're trying to control everybody else, we're just setting up our life to be miserable, because we can't do it. So we just have to learn to accept things the way they are. And when we see people do harmful things, remember, they're not harmful people, they're confused people. Yeah, they're confused people. They don't know what the real cause of happiness is. They don't know that generosity, you know, of spirit is the cause of happiness. They don't know that keeping good ethical conduct is the cause of happiness. Yeah. So they do all these things that harm themselves. So aren't they objects of compassion rather than objects of criticism? Yeah. And when we look closely, we see that we do some of the same stupid things they do. And we shoot ourselves in the foot. Yeah. Because we want to be happy and we don't know the causes of happiness. So we do whatever thing, you know, thinking we'll be happy. Yeah. Somebody says something we don't like. Yeah. Do we just like let it go? No. Why are you talking to me that way? You can't talk to me that way. You did this. It's all your fault. Blah, 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 blah. Who's miserable? We're making ourselves miserable, aren't we? Yeah, thinking, oh, if I yell and scream, they'll change. Okay. How many times when people have yelled and screamed at you have you changed? Do you say, oh, thank you for yelling and screaming at me. Now I know I have a problem I have to change. Oh, yeah. But, so why do we think that when we yell and scream at other people, they'll say, oh, thank you very much? Yeah. And when we get angry, we have this super simplistic view of the situation. Yeah, when you're angry at somebody, situation is very clear. You're wrong. I'm right. The solution is you change. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, is that the solution? They're saying the same thing to us. They're looking on that side saying, it's your fault. I'm right. You change. We go, why should I change? Why shouldn't we change? Why shouldn't we say, I'm sorry from time to time when we make a mistake? Yeah?
I have two questions here.
Mm-hmm.
My younger sister is suffer from terminal illnesses.
Your what?
Younger
my,
sister
My
is
younger
suffering.
sister have cancer. So I have two questions. Need your guidance. So first is, what is the appropriate way or Buddhist way to communicate with her? Well, this
To
has
do
a,
what? To
Communicate with her. His younger sister has a terminal illness.
Just
What's the appropriate Buddhist way to communicate?
to communicate with her. And the second question is, what is the Buddhist teaching that to guide me along? Well, I have a sister that we're going to lose her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is a good attitude of how to relate to her? And what
towards
is,
myself.
how do you prepare for her death? Okay. So I don't think there's some special way. You know, it's somebody has cancer, you know, you just love them. You don't have to do a special tap dance and go on a trapeze or something, you know? You just be kind, you be supportive. If they need, you know, she needs to go to the doctor, you take her. She needs chemo, you sit with her. Yeah. And you just be, you know, you love her while she's alive. Yeah. And yeah, and get to know her, talk about things that you haven't talked about before. Yeah, do things that you both enjoy. Yeah, and you know, with her, let her, you know, because when people are preparing to die, people are really different, and some people want to talk about they want to talk about their possessions and what happens to their possessions when they die. Some people want to talk about what happens to your body when you die. Some people want to talk about how do I create a will. Some people don't. Some people want to know their prognosis. Other people don't want the doctor to tell them that they're terminal. Everybody's really different. So you have to develop a really astute ability to listen to what she's saying so that you can figure out what, because she may tell you sometimes directly what she wants to talk about, and sometimes you learn about it from just listening, and they'll say they'll let you know what they need to talk about. Okay. For example, my brother's a doctor, and I asked him, when you have patients that are terminal, do you tell them? And he said, I don't tell them unless I know that they're ready to hear it. Unless I know that they're ready to hear it. Yeah. If they ask me, yeah, if they let me know through other kinds of language, then I'll tell them. But I won't confront them with this if they're not ready. But then there's other people like me. If I were terminal, I want to know it. I want to know the treatment. I want to know everything. Don't tell me lies. Don't keep anything from me. So you have to see where your sister's at, what she wants, okay? And for yourself, to prepare yourself for losing her, and this it pertains to your question too, just remember the Buddha commented that anything that comes together has to separate. And this is the nature of things. The cup and the top of the cup. Yeah, they come together, they separate. All the parts of the cup are together. If I drop it, they're going to separate. So it is with people too. We come together and we share and then we separate. And that's the nature of things. There's no way to stop it. Okay? So the way, I think, is to, just accept that that's the thing and take advantage of the time that you have and share it with her. Yeah. And really listen. When people are dying, or sometimes when they have a lot of medication, they say things in different ways. When my father was in the hospital, he was quite old, and he had just, what was it? He had fallen, or he had had a TIA, one of these small strokes. And he started saying, he said to me, "Oh, I want to go from New York to London. How do I go from New York to London?" He lives in California, the opposite side of the country from New York. I think he's been to London once, maybe 50 years ago. But he's saying, I want to go from New York to London. What do I do? What do I take with me? I said to myself, oh, he's preparing to die. He knows he's going to go from this life to the next life. Because he said, what do I take across the ocean? Huh? So what is he going to take from this life to the next life? So I talked to him, and I said, well, and I talked completely in his language. I did not talk overtly about death. But I said, Dad, you know, when you go from here, if you go from New York to London, then the best thing to take with you is a happy mind. Yeah? And just have a happy mind and have a kind mind. If you go to London with a kind mind, you'll meet many nice people. Things will turn out really well. Yeah, you'll have a very good trip. Yeah, so have a kind mind, smile at people, be generous to people. You know, you can do that if you're sailing on a ship to London. I just talk completely in the metaphors that he was using. We had this fantastic conversation. Yeah, it was just amazing. At the end of it, I was going, wow. Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, so listen closely.
What about the fear?
About
The fear that the cancer patient is feeling?
fear.
Well, I mean, it's not just cancer patients, is it? First of all, not everybody dies of cancer. My mother had cancer in her early 30s. Yeah. She died at age 82 of heart problems. So just because you have cancer doesn't mean you're going to die. Okay. But we all will die at some point, and we don't know when. Okay. So the best way to prepare for death is to learn how to care about things without being attached to them. Okay? So if I, you know, let's say my cup is my precious possession. I love my cup. I don't want to separate. Your cup might be, you know, your special car, or, you know, your money, or who knows what, your status in some group. You know, this is my special thing. I don't want to separate. Yeah. But to keep reminding myself, but you know, I have to separate. I have to. There's no way around it. Yeah. So while I have the cup, I'm not going to sit here and be afraid of losing the cup, because then I'm not even enjoying the cup. My mind's so afraid. I'm so uptight with fear. So, okay, I'm going to separate from my cup, but while it's here, I'm going to enjoy it. And when it breaks, it breaks.
Yep.
Yeah? And it's the same thing with our life and with the people that we care about, and with our careers or whatever it is. Yeah? We're there, and it will end, and it will change and become something else. And that's okay. Yeah. And we'll adjust, like I was saying at the beginning. We're resilient. We'll adjust. I think the key is if you take with you a kind heart. Yeah. If you take with you a kind heart, then you'll meet kindness. Yeah. And even in this life, if you have a kind heart, you'll meet kindness. And if you don't meet kindness, that's okay. I'm not going to go and say, don't you know you're supposed to be kind to me? I have a kind heart. Why aren't you being kind? Yeah. You see how we make ourselves miserable? Yeah. Once my mother, I did something that I don't know I can't even remember. It was one of those small things, you know. And my mom got so mad at me. Yeah, why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? If you had done this, then this would have happened. and da 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 da. It was some small, tiny thing. And she's going on about it. And I said, well, Mom, I'm really sorry. It looks like you have a really stupid daughter. And that was the end of the conversation. What could she say to that? And, you know, what else could I say? If she thinks I'm so stupid, then yeah, I'm sorry to have to let you know, yeah, you have a stupid daughter who doesn't do everything you want her to do. Yeah. Do you ever admit that you do stupid things and laugh about it?
Yeah.
Or do you try and cover up your mistakes? Yeah. Oh, I didn't break the cup, the lid for the cup. I didn't break it. No, it was there. Yeah. Don't blame me for breaking the lid. It broke itself. It jumped off the cup and fell on the floor and broke. I didn't break it. Yeah? Okay. I broke the cup. Yes. What else is new in this world? Yeah? Is that a big deal? People are getting killed in Ukraine. People are getting killed in Israel and Gaza. And I'm trying to protect my reputation so that somebody doesn't say, oh, she broke the lid of the cup. No. Too many better things to do. Okay, so I think we're at the conclusion of our evening. Yeah? Okay. So let's just stop for a minute. Okay, come back to the breath. And think about something that we talked about tonight that you really want to remember, that you want to take home with you and make part of your life. And then let's rejoice that we spent the evening talking about and thinking about something that is important in life. You know, how to connect with others, how to have a happy mind, how to be of benefit and service to others. So let's rejoice that we talked about that, and our compassionate heart is growing so that we will actually be able to be more compassionate and be of greater benefit to others. And let's rejoice at the merit we created this evening by sharing. And you can imagine that merit as like light beams radiating out of the center of your chest. And send those light beams, send your merit out into the world, and imagine it touching all the other living beings and helping them to have peaceful minds, helping them to be compassionate.